Hi everyone, I'm Saranya, founder of the Bombay Poetry Crawl, and in today's episode, I have the absolute pleasure of speaking with Farrukh Dhondy. Farrukh Dhondy is an author, a dramatist, a screenwriter. He was born in India and currently lives in the UK. He's written across basically every form that you can think of: poetry, prose, dialogue, theatre, scripts for the screen, for radio. He's also received numerous awards, including the prestigious Whitbread Book Award for his novel Bombay Duck. If you haven't read his autobiography, Fragments Against My Ruin, you absolutely must, as well as his translations of Rumi and Hafiz. Farrukh Dhondy has also contributed to many films that we have watched, like Mangal Pandey being one of them. So, this conversation has been such a pleasure to have because of how humorous and hilarious and absolutely intelligent Farrukh is. So, I hope you enjoy. Hey,
Is it working?
it's working. Yes,
It's working.
correct. It's
Yeah.
green. All right. Thank you, Farrukh. My first question to you, and this must be a question you are exhausted by, but I was really interested in it because I once interviewed Manoranjan Vyapari and I asked him, why do you write? And he said, मैं लिखता हूँ क्योंकि मैं मार नहीं सकता. I write because I cannot kill. So I'm interested, why do you write?
Why do I write? I suppose because I can. I found very early on, as a child, that if you weren't very good at football and you weren't very good at hockey and you dodged the ball whenever somebody moved if you were at cricket, then you weren't in any sense heroic as a school person. And so the only way you could show off was to write or tell stories. And so that's how I began to realize that the power of words is probably more attractive than the power of kicking a piece of bloated leather about.
I'm really interested in this because a few of your other interviews you brought up football
Yes.
and you brought this up. Why the fascination with why sports? And do you think there's a connection between sports and writing?
No, but I went to a school in Pune
Yeah.
called Bishops,
Yes.
and uh, all the teachers and the entire atmosphere of the school put emphasis on sport. They didn't give a damn for academic achievement of any sort. I mean, they tolerated it, and they said, "Okay, you're good at maths, yeah, thank you."
Yeah.
But basically, you know, they were very, very fascinated, and they promoted into prefectships and head boyships anybody who could play games and do boxing and so on and so forth. And I always thought that those guys were fools. And, you know, I would rather be Shakespeare than David Beckham, right?
Of course.
You know, and so of course I admired people, our cricketers and so on, but that didn't attract me to follow them as role models.
Yeah.
But as far as writers were concerned, I was fascinated by stories, fascinated by books. We had to study basic Shakespeare in school in the 8th standard, 9th standard, you know, doing Midsummer Night's Dream and so on. And I thought, I want to be like this.
Yeah.
And then the pressure of my parents and my uncles and family, they were all, my father was in the army, my uncles were all engineers. You know, they said, do something like that. So they pushed me into chemical engineering college in Bombay. And it was very exclusive, you know. You had to come first in your class
Oh, wow.
in inter science in order to get admission to the Bombay University Department of Chemical Tech. So I used to go from Ground Road, where I lived with my granduncle,
In
to
Baikala.
yeah, what do you call it, to the college university. And on the way, in the train or on the bus, I would read Lawrence Durrell's Alexandria Quartet. And I thought, if he can do this for Alexandria, I can do it for Bombay, you know. And it gave me an ambition to write.
Right. And then so I'm interested in the early years of your writing career, from when you were at Bishop's, from when you came to Bombay and you would read Lawrence in the train, and when you went to the UK. And if I'm not wrong, you went to the UK to study physics,
Physics.
right? And even then, your passion for reading was always there. So, what were the early influences, and when did you feel like you found a writer, or you found some writers who gave you a vocabulary that felt like it was yours?
I don't know if that ever happened, except that it wasn't the vocabulary, it was certain ideas. When I was in college in Poona, a book came out called An Area of Darkness, Vidya's
Of
book.
course.
And of course, everybody, including my friends, Nissim, hated it.
Yes. I think he wrote about it.
He wrote about it. And they said he's doing dirt on India, like Catherine Mayo did in an earlier book called Mother India, in which she said Indians are hypocrites. Vidya had said things, Indians defecate all over the place. They piss on the streets, there's no lavatories, they go to the fields. That's right. True. Then he said he goes to a nuclear scientist's house. What's going on there? Priests are doing horoscopes and ceremonial for his daughter's wedding. He said there's a schizophrenia, the Indian mind. On the one hand, you believe in nuclear physics and Einstein. On the other hand, you believe in astrology and that the stars are doing your fortune and so on. I read the book and I thought, wow, this guy is telling the truth, absolutely telling the truth.
Yeah.
And everybody around me, professors, other people, they hated it, right? They were against.
He's still so controversial in
And
Indian literature.
I know, and I thought, this is my man. What kind of name is that? V.S. Naipaul. And I used to read a magazine called Encounter, in which he used to do reviews and things. Of course, later in life, I became best of friends with Vidya.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that too was a very strange circumstance.
Yeah.
I mean, I could tell you about it.
So it was this time when people were writing about India from outside of India. Was that common?
Yeah, not very much, right? Of course, I'd read E.M. Foster's Passage to India,
Yes.
and I read Hill of Devi, Foster's Hill of Devi. There were very few books from outside. The Lotus and the Robot was Aldous Huxley's book about India and Japan. So we used to read that. But of course, I used to read R.K. Narayan. Yeah, very much.
Yes.
With fascination.
Yes.
And then Ved Mehta and Tom Borges.
Oh, lovely.
So it was very influential in what I thought I could write about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did that, but my opportunity arose when I joined an immigrant movement in England, right? And they used to run a magazine called Freedom News. Yeah, and we would write all sorts of Marxist and socialist stuff and what to believe in government policy, criticizing it and saying some movements in school, this and the other. One day, a very eminent Marxist philosopher called C.L.R. James, right, from Trinidad, he came to lecture us. And there were 250 people crammed into a room. And he came and put his hat down. And he said, who writes this newspaper? And said, we do. And he said, why do you write all this rubbish? Why don't you write about what you do? So we said, what do you mean? And he said, what do you do? He said, I'm a bus conductor.
Yeah.
So he said, so how do you work? Where do you go? He said, at 5 o'clock in the morning, I get up. I go at 6 o'clock on the 6 o'clock shift.
Yeah.
He said, what happens? Do you interact with the passengers on the bus all the time?
Yeah.
Do you interact with your colleagues all the time? What happens? So are they rude to you? So some are very racist. So write about that. People, with other bus conductors, other people will empathize with that rather than all this rhetoric. What do you do? What do you do? I'm a nurse. I'm a hospital worker. Turn to me.
Yeah.
So he said, write about what happens in school. We took the advice and we started writing 500-word stories about what happens at our workplace. Okay, one of the stories I wrote was about the fifth form disco, because what happened was we were in charge, we teachers were in charge of all these children, the fifth formers, having with a DJ and discos and stuff. Some boys from Brixton, the Black District, came and smashed up the place because one of the girls had stopped being the girlfriend of one of the boys and he came for revenge and blah, blah. So the disco had to close down.
Oh my
so
God.
I wrote about that incident.
This came out in the magazine.
So it came out in the magazine. And I wrote 10, 20 stories like that anonymously. You didn't sign them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so.
Why not?
It was just, we were part of a movement.
Okay.
Right? It's a political thing, it was an egotistic thing.
Right.
Anyway, one day, a guy in a grey suit turns up at the door of the staff room and looking for me. And somebody said, Farrukh, yeah, there's a fellow wanting to talk to you, young man. I went there, I thought, aggrieved parent or what was. He said, are you Farrukh Dhondy? And I said, does he owe you money? So, he said, no. I said, are you from the police? He said, no, I'm from Macmillan Publishing.
Oh, wow.
I'm an editor and I read your short stories in Freedom News. And I said, how do you know they're by me?
Yeah.
Because he said, well, I asked the person who sells me the newspaper outside the tube station. I said, who writes this? And he said, Farrukh. And so there couldn't be many Farrukhs in the Inner London Education Authority. So I tracked you down, he says. I said, come in. What do you want? He said, I want to use your stories because the audience for multicultural writing exists, but the books don't.
Yeah.
And I said, but this is just kind of journalism.
Yeah.
You know, in incidents. I can write you some real stories. You're looking at the Hemingway of India. And he said, okay. He drank his coffee, pulled out a contract for £200. I'd never seen £200 in the same place at one time. So I signed it, of course.
This was which year?
76.
Okay.
Yeah, 76.
You were about 35 maybe.
In 3 months' time, I'd written a book called East End at Your Feet.
Yes.
And so I gave it to
In 3 months you wrote it.
2-3 months, yeah.
Oh my God.
Dashed it off. And then they said, what about the next one? So I wrote the next one. And then the third.
Yeah.
Right? So it started just being in the right place at the right time gave me that opportunity. So it was luck.
I mean, it is luck, but also I'm curious, how did the person selling the paper at the tube station know your name?
They were all members of the movement.
Oh, interesting.
They were members of the movement, and I used to run a youth class.
Yeah.
Lecturing them about the making of the English working classes,
Right.
The theories of surplus value of Marx, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So of course we all knew each other in the movement.
That's so fascinating because you say this was 1976 and it was in 1977 that Namdev Bhasal and J.V. Pawar did the Dalit Panthers movement in Bombay.
Yes.
So what is that? What is that? There was a sudden like international community or international movement happening inspired by the Black Panthers in the US?
Because of the Black Panthers in America,
Right.
It became a symbolic representation of the resistance of the lower classes of any society, of the discriminated classes of any society. So they took on the name of the radicals in America. Otherwise, they had nothing in common except that the Dalit Panthers were for the Dalits and saying we won't stand for this kind of slave status any longer.
Yeah.
You know, we want to be equal citizens. So they started that kind of policy. Similarly, in England, we didn't call ourselves a party, we called ourselves a movement.
Yeah.
And our entire program was aimed at seeing the elimination of discrimination in employment, in schools, in housing, whatever.
Right. And I know that what's interesting to me is that Namdev Bhasal was also a poet, and there's that correlation almost between writing and activism or what have you. Do you find that there is, how do I say this, there's a responsibility on yourself, say as a writer, to be political?
I think it became coincidental.
Okay.
Right? It came as it was just that's what I knew.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I knew the story of multicultural children.
Yeah.
That's why East End at Your Feet.
Yeah.
And then Come to Mecca.
Yeah.
And then Siege of Babylon.
Yes.
Right? And then I thought, not political, I'll write about my childhood and my neighborhood. So I wrote a book called fourth, fifth, sixth book called Poona
Poona Company, yes.
And that was about the real bit of my neighborhood.
Yeah.
But of course, I changed the names.
Yeah.
I changed some of the names.
Oh.
But, the other names I kept because there was a guy who had a hunchback like this, and he looked like a prawn, so he was known as Soli Colby.
I've read this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was another girl called Betsy Sabawala or something, and I called her Betsy Cola because Betsy Cola.
Oh, that's funny.
As a joke.
Unique.
And a guy who used to carry Parsi dead bodies, and he was a big, huge guy with long hair, and he was called Samson because that was the neighborhood.
Of course.
Samson. Kulmi used to take bets, bookie, illegal betting on what they called cotton figures. And what that was, every evening the New York cotton market would shut, and they would have the price of a bale of cotton in decimal figures. And if you guessed the last figure of the decimal figure,
you get it.
Bet on that, yeah. And then the Russians launched the Sputnik.
Of course, yes.
And people said that the Sputnik is transmitting the cotton figures, so you cheat. Cotton figure market collapse.
That's the funniest story I've heard.
It's absolutely true.
It's hilarious. You're serious.
Yeah. People stopped betting on the cotton figures because they said it's predicted.
That's so funny.
Yeah, sir.
And so Poona Company came out in 1980 or 81, right?
I think might have been, yeah.
Around that time. But how do you write about a place that no longer exists or that you're not in anymore if you were in England writing it? Or the people or the neighborhood wasn't the same?
Memory. My childhood memories, there's so many stories.
Yeah.
People used to do all sorts of things in the neighborhood.
And was it easy to write about a city in which you grew up, in which you had your childhood memories? Because I feel like for me right now in 2025, the Bombay book or the Bombay story is way overdone, and I think it's so difficult to write something new. But Pune is a very interesting city in that sense. So what is it like?
I don't know it anymore, really. I've visited it.
Yeah.
My cousins live there.
Yeah.
But it's kind of completely overgrown and different.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in Deccan Queen,
yes,
I've got some stories set between Poona and Bombay.
Yeah.
And some going into past history, when the trains were made and during the Raj and so forth, and some contemporary ones from my school. Yeah. And then I've written a book not published yet because my maiden aunts with whom I grew up, because my parents were in the army and they were all over the place, so we used to go to them on holidays, but I stayed in Poona steadily with my maiden aunts. And they used to work in a firm called Pocha Seeds.
Pocha Seeds.
Pocha Seeds.
Okay.
Which was a big firm selling seeds, agricultural seeds, flower seeds, garden seeds, whatever.
Oh wow.
Seed packets, right?
Yeah.
And their slogan was Pocha Seeds Satisfy.
Yes, they do.
Right?
Yeah, to the point.
Yes. The boss was Faramji Pocha, and he was known as Papsu. And he'd married a German lady.
Right.
Because he was in the war, he brought her from Germany.
Right.
Turned up. He had two kids, right? A boy and a girl, Geeta Pocha, and the boy was gay, much older than me.
Right.
And Geeta had eloped to the Navy officer and had two children my age. And the children my age were two girls, and they fell for Rajneesh, the Rajneesh ashram.
Oh.
So I've written a book, a novel, which is not yet published, called Khodaiji Seeds Multiply, about a Parsi family of 3 generations.
Yeah.
Right? And their adventures.
Yeah.
And they're pretty tragic and absolutely based on the truth.
Oh no.
But I've changed the names. Right? So my agent is selling it now. So let's see.
How exciting. And this is in Pune, which then you spoke about Deccan Queen, which then brings me to my next question. I've read the Deccan Queen, and I've taken the Deccan Queen actually from Pune to Bombay, and I'm interested in how you write about Pune, how you write about Bombay, and how do you write about this liminal space between the two, this journey between the two places?
Because we used to travel on the Deccan Queen all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Commuters used to.
Yes.
Between the towns. And it was two worlds. Pune was a quiet place. It was kind of known as the Oxford of India because it had all these colleges
Right.
and it was got no industries. When I grew up, the industries began in Pimpri and so on.
Yes.
Yeah, penicillin factory
Yes.
first. Then, of course, motor car factories, this, that, everything. So it's unrecognizable from my childhood now. But it was a quiet town, and Bombay was a bustling place, a metropolis,
Always, yeah.
and completely different from my childhood. But my cousins and my father's family is from Bombay, from Baikara. So we used to turn up here all the time. So from the age of, I suppose, 0, I lived between Poona and Bombay in that way. And that's how the connection came about.
Tell me about your time in Bombay. I'm interested in that.
My time in Bombay,
Yes.
it depends on which time in Bombay. When I was very young, I used to come to my grandfather's place in Baikala. I was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5 years old. I remember my grandfather used to hold our hands, me and my sister and my cousins, and take us to Rani Bagh, Victoria Garden.
Yes.
Right? Which was a walk
Yeah.
from our house. We lived in Kambhata Gully.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I came to a festival, a lit fest, from Britain recently, a few years ago, my friends said on Sunday we've got no lectures or anything here, so show us Bombay, Bombay. So I borrowed a car from Dalit.
Yes.
Yeah, and because she was a childhood friend.
Yeah.
From Kanpur. So I took her car, sat these 3, 4 people down, and drove them around Crawford Market and Prince of Wales Museum and so on, Chhatrapati Sambhaji Museum.
Yeah.
Showed them the hotels, this, that, and the other. And then I drove them. I said, I'll take you to a very special place.
Yeah.
Right? Then I drove them. They said, where are we? What was this? I drove them, took them around the thing, and drove them into Kambhata Gully. And they said, where the hell are we? What are you doing? They said, I stopped at the end of Kambhata Gully and said, get out, look at the foundation stone on that building. Right?
It was your family.
Dhondy Terrace.
Oh, wow.
Right? I said, it's my ancestral home where I used to come. My idiot cousin was standing on the first floor balcony and said, oh, it's you, is it?
So this family is still there?
He's there.
Okay.
My father's brother's son,
Right.
Farrukh Dhondy, is still there. He said, come up, have a beer. So I took my people up there. What happened was, we had a beer and I showed them all my ancestors' portraits, there, my grandmother, my grandfather, blah, blah. And then I asked him, where is the Dhondy family Titian? These people said, what? Initials.
Yeah.
And he said, it's with Zarin Chapkanawala, our second cousin. Because Jamshedji Saklatwala, my grandmother's father, used to work for the Tatars.
Oh.
Because he was their cousin.
Mm.
So he didn't work for them, he worked with them to found Jamshedpur.
Oh.
Right?
Oh, I didn't know
He did the survey,
Yeah.
the land survey.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
in charge of all that.
Yeah.
And they built that city.
Oh, wow.
And in gratitude, they gave him something that they had inherited from a British governor. Right? And one of them was Titian's painting of Venus reclining to music.
Wow.
So I took them to this Bombay Gully, to Zarin's house. Zarin was my father's cousin, and she, of course, the Dhondis didn't inherit the paintings, the Saklatwalas did. So she owned it, right? Her stupid uncles had 3 paintings: Danae and the Shower of Gold, Venus Retiring to Music, and one other. These idiots had sold them to some second-hand shop.
What are you saying?
I'm telling you. And she had preserved this one.
That's so sad.
And we went up to her house, and there was the painting in her front room. It had got fungus at the sides, and, the canvas had caught some Bombay damp. We took pictures, must have taken 20, 30 pictures of everything, right? I said, what are you doing with it? And they said, we can't say that we own it because we'll get slaughtered. Somebody will come and steal it.
Oh my
right?
God.
And they'll kill us. So we can't even export it because
Yeah.
we're not allowed to export it. I said, okay, you're in television. I was working in television.
Yeah.
So I said, find out. So I took the pictures, the photographs to my art critic friend who works in the BBC.
Okay.
And we looked at all these things.
Back in the UK, you did
Back
it.
in the UK. And he said, it's not a tissue.
Oh.
It's a fake.
Oh.
But it's still an 18th or 17th century fake. And it will be worth at least 600,000 to a million. Right?
Pounds?
Pounds.
What?
Yeah. He
But
said,
yeah, it's 17th. But they used to make fakes in the 17th century?
yeah, of course. He said there are 3 of these in the world.
Wow.
Titian, the original is lost. But it's in the style of Titian exactly, and it's Venus reclining to Muse.
No, I just got goosebumps.
Right. And it used to hang in my grandfather's house. Right? Or great grandfather's house.
Right.
And one day a Parsi priest came in and looked at it. Venus reclining. And he said, I Jaiji ne su shok tha yaar."
Of course he did.
What kind of, what
He must have been
What-
scandalized.
what fancy has taken?
Yes.
Has your wife taken to do this? Jaiji ne su shok. You understand Gujarati?
Yeah, of course, of course.
So, yeah.
That's hilarious. But I'm so excited to know that the building is still standing because in that part of town, I do these 2 walks. So one is of the abandoned textile mills,
Yeah.
which is right near there, and the second near there is the Urdu Poets Walk, because both communities were very close by. So you had at the textile mills the working class Marathi activists who were also poets,
Yes.
who were part of the workers' union, and then you had the Urdu poets who started off with a very strong movement to fight for independence, and
Yeah.
then grew disillusioned with what India became, and then worked in film. But
Yeah.
that neighborhood has seen a lot of changes. So
Yeah.
I imagine that you must have seen a lot of that, right? A lot of
a lot of changes. I spent time in Bombay at the University of Technology, chemical technology, and I stayed with my grandfather's younger brother, who was a Gandhian, and he wouldn't wear leather shoes, only plastic,
Of course.
right? Because leather was animal, vegetarian, khadi,
Yeah.
no other cotton, right? All the time. Being a Parsi, but he allowed me to get the cook to cook and eat anything in this
Yeah.
and that. So I was 16 years old, 17, and granduncle used to do yoga, all sorts of things, right? And
Yeah.
then I'll tell you something else. Let me tell you the whole story. I was with Vidya in his Wiltshire home, and a couple of us were drinking wine and looking at the sunset and talking about Wordsworth and this, that, and the other. Suddenly, the door to the sitting room where we were sitting opens, and Nadira, Vidya's wife, Pakistani
Yes.
wife, comes in dressed in sports clothes with 2 dumbbells, and she starts not say anything, just we just watch. She does this for 2-3 minutes, then she just without a word shuts the door and goes away. And Vidya turns to me and said, "Farrukh, it's a form of idleness, you know." And so our entire gang has adopted that phrase, right?
I know.
And so if we see somebody doing something, it's a form of idleness. My granduncle, out of sight, used to boast to me that he could suck oil from his penis. He would get a plate of oil and he'd train the muscles to suck.
Interesting.
Part of yoga.
Apparently.
And I said, he said, you start with water, but then you move to oil. And then you use this. I said, yeah, milk, this, that, and the other. And he said his master,
Yeah.
the man teaching yoga, could suck mercury up his penis.
That's divine intervention.
It's a complete madness. And so when I took these, my literary friends, my book festival friends around, I took them past Slater Road where Uncle used to live.
Yeah.
And I told them this story.
Yeah.
And Ruth Padel, the poet.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Ruth Padel was with us.
Oh, no.
And when I told her about sucking mercury up the penis, she said, Farrukh, that strikes me as a form of idleness.
Was V.S. Naipaul with you at the time?
No.
Oh, he would have enjoyed that.
He had strange ideas. Do you want the story?
Should I pause it or?
No.
Yes, I want a story.
I was in Brisbane, Australia, sleeping in the hotel room. 2 o'clock in the morning, bloody phone rings. Pick up the phone. Nadira, Farrukh, where are you? I said, you know exactly where I am.
Yeah.
You've called me in a Brisbane hotel.
Yeah.
Yes, I got the number, but he wants to speak to you. I said, what about? She said, no, he'll tell you. He comes on and says, Farrukh, I'm so sorry to disturb you. So sorry. I said, no, I'm quite wide awake now. Please tell me what the matter is. He said, no, I have to speak to you because Patrick has betrayed us, He's betrayed us. This is Patrick French who'd written his biography. I said, in what sense? He said, well, Patrick says in the book that I beat women. I don't, I don't beat women.
Yeah.
And he said, I bugger women. And I don't do that. I said, but why has Patrick done this?
Yeah.
He's a friend.
Yeah.
He was always with you. And we traveled together, we meet in the same house and so on and so forth. Long silence. Says Farrukh, you don't realize how deep socialism has gone.
That's what he said.
Absolutely don't understand what it means. So
That's so funny. But now going back to Bombay.
yeah.
So you were here in the early 60s, is that correct?
Yes, 62.
So that's a lot of changes, right? Because 62 was the Indo-China War, and then
Exactly.
in 66 or 67, I think Bal Thackeray got Shiv Sena to power.
That's
There was
right.
this sudden right-wing movement towards Hindutva nationalism coming to Bombay. The Communist Party died down.
I was out.
You were out by then.
By 64,
Oh, you got out at the right time.
I was in Cambridge.
Right.
Yeah.
But those few years that you were here, did you notice this change in the political atmosphere, this more right-wing
Of course,
approach?
The Shiv Sena wasn't in power, but it was coming up.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. And at least in the slums, what they were doing was social work. They would do education, they would do health, they would help the people, if the people were bereft, they'd help them out with welfare, with money, just to get political power.
Why wasn't the left doing this?
Because the left is completely confused in fighting each other. The CPM was fighting the CPI, and the CPML was fighting the CPM. And while I was here with Adil, we were in a kind of Marxist group.
Yes.
Yes, we used to get together and talk stuff. And of course, we were more inclined towards the CPM.
Yeah.
Right? But two of them, Delnatan and Vasanti, they were called. Right? You heard of them?
No.
They were ML inclined.
Oh.
China and so on.
Yes,
and so forth.
yes.
Right? And because they were radical in that way, during the emergency, Indira and people had them arrested and they were tortured. The police would sit on their put their hands under the chair's legs and sit on the chair, right? And then ask them questions about who's the membership and what, that.
Oh God.
Anyway, after all that torture, they started in North Bombay forming unions among workers,
Factory workers.
associating them with the Marxist-Leninist party. Then, when the elections were held, they were opposed to CPM unions. They joined Indira Gandhi's Congress in order to get a ML Congress coalition. Yeah.
Oh my God.
They did that and they moved the votes over to support the Congress candidates, right? Just defeat the CPM.
So it's not about ideology, it's just about gaining power.
Absolutely. And Anand Patwardhan, came to me in London when I was commissioning editor at Channel 4. And Anand was a friend. He said, I've got 3 documentaries to show you so that you can buy them, right?
Yeah.
And I said, okay. He said, they're showing at the National Film Theatre, in a festival. Come and see them, please. I said, okay. So I went and I saw the films, and one of them was about Devnathan and Vasanti and how they were persecuted by the police and this, that and the other.
Wow.
He left out the section about them joining the Congress. Yeah, he left that out. The other 2 films were okay. I said, yes, I'll buy them. Went to the bar after the films, right? And he was there with 2 young ladies. 2 girls were sitting around the thing and Farrukh, come and join me out. So I said, what are you drinking? This, that, and the other? Yeah. So they said, I'll have a lager, I'll have a plaza. And one of the girls looked very familiar and she said to me, I've read your Come to Mecca and I think it's fantastic, blah, blah, blah. Right? And Farrukh, she was treating me like she knew me.
Yeah.
And I thought, something's gone. Who is this? I know this girl.
Yeah.
Have I slept with her? Or, what or which?
Yeah, it's a small world.
But yeah, I said, no, I can't remember. So I went and bought the drink, and as I was buying the drink, I thought, fuck. I don't know her. I've seen her on screen. Julie Christie.
That's who that was?
That's who that was.
Oh my God.
With Anand Patwardhan. And I took the drinks back at the table.
Yeah.
And so Anand said, what did you think of the films? And they were listening there, they were sitting around. And I said, I was with Devnathan and Vasanti and you did all that, their history, this, that. What you didn't say at the end was that the NL joined the Congress and Devnathan and Vasanti were the instrumental negotiators of that. So they joined the people who had tortured them.
Yeah.
That's it. And Anand said, well, there was I tried to make an excuse. I said, you should have put that in because that's the essence of the film. Yeah. And Julie Christie pipes up and said, oh, Farrukh, Anand, you don't need to pay attention to that. The Indian bourgeoisie don't know anything about the politics. To me.
So she was calling you the Indian bourgeoisie.
So I said to her, Julie, thanks, that's good, that's great. Please teach me about Indian politics and I'll teach you about acting.
You said that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that I can relate to even now. There's always so much said on, who should be allowed to speak on certain things and who shouldn't. But, so then for the brief period in which you were in Bombay, apart from your association with the unions, with the Marxists, did you have any relationships with the poets in the city?
Friends. Adil, I knew from way back.
Really?
Yeah.
How lovely.
I was a friend of his cousin, his mother's sister's son, who I grew up with from the age of 0.
Right.
Right? In Poona. young man called Rashid, and he was Adil's cousin. And one day he says to us, I was writing some verse, poetry and stuff. And he said, my cousin Adil is coming down from Bombay to stay with us. He's just come back from Oxford. He quit Oxford.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he quit after his first year and came back to Bombay. And he's coming to visit. And he's a poet. He's put out, he's writing books for us. So I'd love to meet him.
Yeah.
Read him my poetry. See what he says. Yeah.
Yes.
Read him my verses. And he said, right, we'll meet at the boat club in Poona, right? At so and so time. So of course, I bicycled with my friends and went up to meet Adil Jussawalla, the great poet, right? He was a few years older.
Yeah.
But we turned up there, and they were all standing, not in the boat club, but outside it. And so Rashid and Adil and other people, I said, what's happening? Shall we go and, get a drink, read my poems, whatnot? I said, no, there's been an emergency. Some people have drowned in the river at the boat club.
Oh my God.
The boat had overturned.
Oh God.
And so the boat club
They shut the
said
place.
we were closing down. So I never got to read my poem. My verses.
Oh no.
So that was our first meeting. And we had to turn away from the boat club and go home. So because somebody had drowned.
Oh no.
And people didn't want to know about verses.
Bad timing.
He went back to Oxford.
Yeah.
I came up to years before I came. Then he was living in London, right? In a bedsitter, the size of just this size.
Yeah.
Yeah, from here to wall,
Yeah.
on the third floor of a bedsitter. And in my Cambridge holidays, I would go and stay with him. And he would sleep on the bed and I would sleep on the floor.
How lovely.
In London.
And he showed me these letters that that when he was in London, Nissim would write to his mother, and his parents used to correspond with Nissim just to make sure he was okay and well.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And he had a friend called Ratnakar Kini, right? Who's dead.
Yeah.
But Kini used to live in the bedsitter, and the three of us used to write verse. And the Poetry Society got us to give gigs, give poetry readings in pubs in different places in London.
Wow.
So the three of us would go and, yeah. And
how fun.
we would read.
And were you perceived as these brown poets or these Indian
Indian
poets?
poets, yeah.
Okay.
Adil, Ratnakar, and myself.
What was that like? Do you think that changed your writing, your English, being there?
Sorry?
Do you think being there changed your writing and your English?
I don't know if it did any of that, but I certainly did pick up some attitudes and critical thinking from Cambridge because it was heavily under the influence of F.R. Lewis, who said one poem is better than another.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are criteria to say how or why. And so, I can't say that I published verse
Yeah.
in several magazines and so forth. And I can't call it poetry. I say I'm a versifier.
I like that.
Because, Yeats and Adil and Arun and people, they are poets. I'm a versifier, like that. So, and nobody's ever published a collection of my poems, so-called.
Until now, until this Red River.
Oh, that, yes.
Yes.
They've published that. But other poems, right? Other verses, lots of them. I've got a book of them. Nobody wants it.
But you
I'll try and get it to these publishers.
But the word versifier is so interesting. Do you say that because you write in so many different forms and mediums? Is that why?
This is something that Rumi is a poet.
Yeah.
Right? I'm taking his verse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Through prose translations from my friends and turning them into
Poems.
poems, telling you that doesn't make me a poet. That makes me a versifier of sorts.
That's a fascinating word, and I know that also, like from what I see in your books, is this fascination with words itself. You also, of course, have the book Fables of Words, in which you just talk about. Um, it's just like it's like a case study of different words. And
Yeah.
so I want to ask, how did this fascination with the word come about? I studied English literature, and it was very academic in one sense, and we studied Saussure and how his theories said that essentially the meaning of a word is arbitrary because a community gives meaning to a word together. So I'm interested in that's what I'm interested in with words. But what is it about breaking down words that fascinates you, or playing with?
Um, I read a lot of poetry,
Yeah,
right? And of course, I have favorites. Uh, the music
yeah.
of Walt Whitman
Oh,
or T.S. Eliot,
yes.
right? There the eyes are sunlight on a broken column. There is a tree swinging and voices are in the wind sinking on the street and suddenly a fading star. I don't know, what's it mean? I don't know what it means. Yeah. But there the eyes are sunlight on a broken column. There is a voice. It's fantastic.
It is.
And Yeats. Now, Yeats always has meaning, you know.
Yes.
Yeats always has meaning.
Yes.
You know. Does the imagination dwell the most upon the woman won or the woman lost?
Oh.
If at the lost admit you turned aside from the labyrinth of another being's out of pride or some silly over subtle thought, and if memory recurs, the sun's under eclipse and the day blotted out.
Oh, lovely.
It's wonderful stuff.
Beautiful. You remember it by heart.
We fed the heart on fantasies. The heart's grown brutal from the fair. Oh, honeybees, come build in the empty house of the stair. Yeah, I remember lots of stuff.
But some poetry really stays with one.
Of course, I mean, Macbeth, I think I can quote it start to finish.
Yeah. Really?
I think so. I haven't tried it. But when shall we three meet again in thunder, lightning, or in rain? When the hurly-burly is done, when the battle's lost and won, that will be the settled sun. Where the place upon the heath, there to meet with Macbeth. I come, grim Orkin, Paddock calls, and on fair is foul and foul is fair. Horror through the fog and filthy air.
Amazing. Which then brings me to my next question about this fascination with so many different forms. How do you move through different forms? Do you have to be in a different writing space when you're focused on it? Does it inform the kind of story you're telling, the different form that you choose?
My dear, it's always been luck. Poems, verses, I wrote out of my own volition.
Right.
If something occurs to me, I write it down. But as I told you, a guy approaches me at the staff room door and says, I'll pay you to write. Great, I'm writing books. They come back, another book, and so on and so forth. Yeah? And then you get into, from the books, from the short stories, a fellow approaches me, Charlie Hanson, and says, we would like to, I'm from the Black Theatre Co-op, we'd like to take one of your stories and adapt it for the for the stage.
Yeah.
I said, don't do that. I'll write you a stage play. Right? So I write my first stage play. Because the guy approaches me.
Yeah.
Says, I said, don't do that. Write you 2-3 stage plays for the Black Theatre Co-op. They're performed all over the place. A guy comes and says to me, I've seen your stage plays, right? Will you write a situation comedy for us for television? Again, right place, right time.
Right time.
Yeah. I go and write my first situation comedy for television. Another producer comes to me and says, radio short stories, can we adapt them for television? Of course. I didn't know how to write a television play at all.
Yeah.
So I said, what's it look like? And so he shows me scripts. And so I study it, You write internal, external, you write where it takes place, you write the action, then you write the dialogue. So, done. And I learned that just by looking at the script. And I started writing television. And I wrote the first series, and then another one, then another one, then another one. So, and then film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I was approached to write
Mangal Pandey.
long
Much
before
later,
Mangal
yeah,
Pandey.
yeah.
Much before. I don't know. The first one might have been Dave Benegal's Split Wide Open.
Ah.
Yeah. And then lots. Yeah. Bandit Queen,
Yes.
Mangal
of course.
Pandey, Jinnah.
Yeah. But I'm curious. I know that. If we may talk about Bandit Queen, the movie, I just have a question about the movie Bandit Queen.
Sure.
I know that Mala Sen was not happy with the portrayal of how they turned her book into how they turned the character of Fulan Devi on screen. How did you feel about that?
Mala was my wife.
Yes.
Mala wasn't displeased with the film.
Oh, okay.
It was Dirty Dutty who was displeased with the film.
Oh, I read in a news article that it was her. I'm
Rubbish.
probably wrong.
She completely supported it,
Oh,
right? Because Arundhati
yeah.
and her gang sued us in court, sued Mala in court.
For what reason?
It was quite a story, right? Because I collaborated with Mala,
Yeah.
not in any sense doing the research. She did all the research.
Right.
She did all the things. I looked at the prose to to smoothen certain sentences and so forth because she had written the book before. So, but the publishers loved it.
Yeah.
They published it. I said this book needs to be a film.
Yes.
Yeah, I was a commissioning editor at the time.
Yes.
Bit of nepotism there,
Yeah.
but we were divorced by then. Yeah, but we were still very
It's a
close.
striking book. I love it.
Yeah, we were very close, and so we said, okay, get hold of a producer, director, blah. She got her friend, Horace Ovey and so on. And they traveled. Channel 4 gave them money. I gave them some money to. They wasted all the cash. No script. Mala started writing the script. She was so obsessed with our politics
Yeah.
that she turned up a telephone directory of a script with one character speaking for 17 pages
Wow.
about agricultural reform in India.
That's dedication.
Yeah, and ideological thing.
Yeah.
But once she started on somebody talking, they would just talk for pages. The dialogue, she typed it out. And I said, Mala, this is not a script. She said, well, to hell with it. I want to, use it as revolution. My boss at Channel 4
Yeah.
had allocated, they used to allocate budgets to commissioning editors.
Yeah.
Said, Farrukh, how's the film about that bandit that I gave you £1 million for?
Yeah.
Yeah? How's it going? I said, oh, it's going very well. I said, can I see the script? I'd like to have a read. I said, we're still kind of correcting the
Yeah.
spellings and so forth. And of course, I said, have you got a director and a producer? I said, yeah, everything's in place. Because he said, if you're not using it, I can take the $1 million back.
Ah.
I thought, phew,
No.
right?
No.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Now, Bobby Beatty happened to be in town.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he brought a documentary on Punjab elections for me. So I said, why not use him? I need a name immediately to put to Michael Gray, to my boss. So I said, Bobby, will you produce Bandit Queen? Absolutely. No script, no director. And I lied. I said, we've got a producer, director, script, everything in
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
I said, this evening, I'm supervising a show called On the Other Hand. It's an Asian chat show. Presenter, Shekhar Kapoor. Right?
Oh wow.
The producers had brought him.
Yeah.
And so I met him there, uh, and it was an Asian show. And so, for instance, we would have mothers and sons who were gay, right? And they would, Shekhar would ask mothers, what do you feel about your son being gay? And the gays would ask, what do you feel about being in the family where you're allowed?
Oh, how nice.
So that, yeah. And Asian racism.
Yeah.
Right? He would ask questions about why you have this attitude. I said to Shekhar, after the show, we at the Wandsworth Studios come to a pub 10 yards down the road. So Bobby, Shekhar, and I sit there, I buy the pints of beer, and I said, Shekhar, will you direct Bandit Queen? He said, I don't direct without reading the script.
Yeah.
I said, well, there isn't a script, but I can tell you the story in general.
Yeah.
Woman is raped in childhood even. Then she's raped constantly, and she's captured by a gang. That. I said, no, I have to see a script. I can't agree to that.
And by now, Phulan Devi was in prison, right?
She was in prison
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah.
And I said to Shekhar, look, I'm drinking this pint. By the time it gets down to 1 inch or 2 inches, you have to say yes or no.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And if you say no, that's fine. I'll ask Mani Ratnam. Yeah, I know Mani.
Wow.
I can ask him. I can ask Ketan Mehta.
Yeah.
I can ask Sunil Mishra. They'll jump at it. I said I could ask anyone of them.
Yeah.
If you have money, people make friends with you.
A life lesson there. But yes, carry on.
I had Channel 4 budgets.
Yeah.
By the time I got down, they said, I'll do it. Okay. So I go back to Channel 4
Yeah.
the next day, and I say, I'm going to take, I can't work and write a script.
Yeah.
I'll take a few days off. So I'm having coffee at the coffee machine
Yeah.
with the music director,
Yeah.
music commissioning editor.
Oh, okay.
And she says, so what are you going to do? I said, I'll have to take some time off. Till take my bloody £1 million away. She said, you need some peace and quiet. I said, yeah, but I suppose if I stay in London,
Yeah.
I'll get troubled by editing this,
Yeah.
editing that. Blah. She comes to my office with a key and says, this is a key to my parents' cottage in Bordeaux, in France. You can have it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever you want.
How kind.
Very sweet.
Wow.
So I take her key, Caroline's key, right? I tell Bobby and Shekhar, we're going to Bordeaux.
Bordeaux. Oh, that's nice.
And I'm paying for it from Channel 4
Yeah.
because it's for writing. So we get our partners together and we push off to this Bordeaux cottage.
Lovely.
These bastards get up at 8 o'clock, we have breakfast.
Yeah.
They fuck off in the car to
The pub.
the wine, to the vineyards, to see Bordeaux in France. I'm sitting there at the computer typing away. They come back for lunch. We have lunch. They go off again, right? To the thing. They come back at 6, 7 in the evening, right? At that time, I close down my writing. We light bonfires, barbecues. Bobby takes his turban off and makes the Sardaji ponytail
Yeah.
and plays Bob Dylan.
Oh, lovely.
And we have a good time at the sunset. Next morning again.
Yeah.
So in about 10 days, script done.
Nice. 10 days is quick.
10 days. It could have taken 3 days, but
The wines were there. The wineries were there.
we did it, and then came back to London with it. And of course, I have producer, director, script, everything. My £1 million is secure. We started the shoot.
That's incredible. But what I'm loving about this is I find that I could be wrong, but you seem to be adaptable as a writer. Like it seems like if the necessity demands it, then you can write for any form.
Any form.
That's really lucky because I struggle a lot. I've just started writing a short story, and it's something that's real. It's a very difficult form, according to me, and just to get to it has not been easy.
You take lessons from O. Henry,
Which is what?
which is there's a twist in the tale at the end of the story.
Yeah,
That's very much O. Henry.
yeah,
Or Hemingway, who
Yeah.
just writes straight away.
yeah. Who wrote the Iceberg Way, which was only the surface.
Or Rudyard Kipling, for God's sake. Brilliant short story.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you learn you learn subconsciously.
yeah,
You don't. I've never been to a writing class.
yeah.
Yeah. Even though I've given writing classes, but I don't like them.
Then I just have one more question for you. You know, with working across for decades, you worked in with workers' unions and the British Black Panthers. You've written for the multinational community in the UK. I mean, it seems like you've always there's been a connection, or you've been aware of the politics and the society around you. And I'm just wondering, as someone in Bombay right now in 2025, third term of the Modi government, how do you see this relationship between the writer and their environment in India right now, or perhaps in the UK?
I read some modern novels. Yeah. I read modern poetry. I read modern journalism.
Yeah,
Yeah. I write a column every Saturday
Deccan Chronicle.
in Asian of Cabbages and Kings.
Oh,
it's
right,
called.
right, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I used to write other things.
Yes.
There was a paper called DNA,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I used to write a column for them called Double Helix,
Oh,
DNA.
yeah,
They didn't know what I was talking about.
yeah. You were enjoying the wordplay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Double Helix. And instead of Gmail, I used to write a column for a website called FMail.
Nice.
Some Farrukh mail. So I'm very careful to comment on in these weekly
Yeah.
columns on the Modi government's actions,
Yeah.
but not directly,
Yeah.
because otherwise they'd ban me from India.
Yeah.
They'd take away my OCI card,
Another Salman Rushdie situation.
and that's it. And so I write about other countries attacking minorities
Yeah.
and say this is a very bad form of democracy, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, of course, all my readers understand,
Yeah.
what I'm talking about.
Of course. Yeah, I suppose that's the only way to do it right now in this day and age.
Yeah, because I'm a good friend of Siddharth Bhatia,
Yes.
right?
Oh, nice.
And he's very bold.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's very bold.
And he gets into trouble.
All the time, yeah. All the time.
But thank you so much, Farrukh. This has been great. I don't have any more questions.
Good.
Sorry, this took up a long time, but I just had so much fun chatting with you. That was really fantastic. So this is Farrukh reading from Granny's
Gripes.
Gripes and Growing Up.
It used to be called, in its English edition, it's been published there,
Yeah.
Granny's Groins and Growing Up. Because there is a poem here about my groin. But my daughter said, "Oh, that's horrible. How dare you write that rubbish?" English edition, I changed it. They were very PC, My son and daughter, I made a joke. I said, "What would Marx say to transgender people?" He would say, "Transgender people of the world unite. You have nothing to lose but your pronouns."
They did not approve.
They said, that it's a joke. Why did the feminist cross the road?
Why?
Because I commanded her to.
Oh,
Okay, you were asking me why I turned socialistic,
yes.
top and tail. We used to call them ladies' fingers, or in the markets, bida or bindi, while speaking Gujarati or Hindi. The cook would fetch them from the markets for a dinner dish of pida parida, the chopped vegetable with eggs on top, with onions and tomatoes and a drop or more of chili oil. Indeed, a dish which I thought of as my favorite till I saw two young boys following our cook from market. Their eyes had a searching look as they stood by the gate, and they were still hanging about as I asked our Hukamali, the cook, who said, "Leave them. They come following me when they see I've bought this bindi, which I have to top and tail, and chuck those bits into the kachra pail. They want those bits. So I feel that I ought to cut larger bits off the bindi's ends for them to gather in their shirts and take the wretched bits to cut, to eat. For heaven's sake, did you see the older one's stomach bends inward, so as though it would meet his backbone? That's where our Farooq, this country is now. The politicians babble on, but how is this going to ever change? God alone knows, not me. My imagination fails when I see these boys begging tops and tails.
Oh.
Thank you, Farooq. Thank you so much for this super enriching conversation and for making me laugh in a way that I haven't in many, many days. This was just absolutely so much fun for me, and thank you for sharing your insights, your experiences, your stories with these really cool writers whom we don't hear about so much. And also, thank you for reading from your own work. Thank you.